Welcome in, everyone. That's a tap here, CT, with my guy DJ. We're here to react, talk about MMA, boxing, combat sports. You love it, and we love talking about it. How you feeling, DJ?
Feeling good, man. Feeling good. Big boxing event coming up um, this Sunday for us. Saturday, I guess, for the rest of the world. But yeah, man, can't be any more excited than what I am already. I know this is not like a traditional, boxing bout. It's an MMA fighter against the heavyweight champion of the world. Still, right? I mean, we're talking about heavyweight boxing. We're talking about big guys. You know, they have dynamite in their hands. Anything can happen at any moment, and that's what sparks the excitement. And that is what was making me want to watch this fight.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, it's a novelty still, but obviously we'll talk a little bit about what's next for Fury with Usyk coming up. But yeah, the
Yeah,
the baddest man, arguably Francis Ngannou, the guy no one wants to meet, down a dark alley. Uh,
yeah.
but yeah, do you really feel? We'll talk about the press conference, but sort of this fight, do you really feel like this is going to be a future for him in boxing? Do you really feel like it's just this one fight with Fury?
No, I think especially for Francis, I definitely think this is probably like could be a doorway into that sport, the sport of boxing. The reason that I say that is in multiple occasions he's been very vocal about the fact that he came into this, the arena of combat sports to take part in boxing. He always wanted to be a boxer, and obviously that gym that he joined in the beginning, they convinced him to sort of take that MMA route, which brought about a lot of success. Saw him becoming the heavyweight champion of the world, leaving the UFC on top, and he's put himself in this position to be able to take this boxing bout. So it definitely is something. I mean, it's a shame that he couldn't get it started earlier. He's, I believe, 36. Definitely towards that later part of of fighting. Having said that, especially in heavyweight, you do see fighters like who are older, still very active. Look at champion John Jones. Probably bad timing given that he was injured, but he's 35 and he's the heavyweight champion of the world. Stipe, who he's fighting, is about to touch 40. So I think when it comes to heavyweight, because it's less activity. I mean, you can't say that in boxing. That's the other thing. Even in MMA, you can't say that. It's just that you do traditionally see heavyweights, sort of being in that older age bracket. Um, so yeah, like it could definitely prove to be that doorway, especially if he has enough success in this fight. And when I say enough success, he doesn't necessarily have to secure himself a victory. He could, if he could hold his own against arguably the best heavyweight, in the past 10 years, right, best boxer in the world right now. I think that gives him a lot of credit to be able and confidence to be able to take on another challenge. There's plenty of heavyweight bouts that we could match up Francis with. The Dillian Whites. So many of them. Derek Chisora is also sort of the older uh, side of the spectrum. So yeah,
Yeah, he has that great equalizer, the power, and I'm with you on that. I think this is actually a huge opportunity to, fight the best heavyweight. But the fact is, with Ngannou, he's already a fighter. He's no YouTuber. He's no, he's one of the best heavyweight MMA fighters, and they do box during fights. So yeah, he's got a real career down this path if he wants. Obviously, he's making huge bread. He could
yeah,
call out some guys. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But speaking of calling out, did you catch the press conference?
man. You're talking about John Fury and Mike Tyson. Oh man, like John Fury is a character. He does add that extra bit of excitement, even with that Tommy Fury KSI fight. Like it was the Dylan Downing fight was definitely stealing the limelight with all the gimmick that was going around that. But John Fury definitely sort of brought his own signature trademark or branding into sort of the build up of that fight, which got a lot of fans excited, and seems like he's sort of doing that. Not just the press conference, but like he had his T-shirt off at the weigh-ins, was trying to step in the middle. He's just a character, quite entertaining, and I think like it's all done in good fun. Um, but yeah, man, like, and hey, I do want to say, like, you touched on something quite accurate. While this can be termed as an exhibition, I don't think it's an exhibition bout. Um, it's one of those MMA fighters taking on boxing. This is no like Jake Paul taking on Anderson Silva, or this is no, Floyd Mayweather fighting Logan Paul. This is actually, like you pointed out, someone who is quite good at what they do. They were the heavyweight champion of the world for the premier organization in MMA, and have stepped away from that. If you look at Francis Ngannou's game, it's always been knockout. It's always been striking. He's always had dynamite in his hands, and even in MMA fights, you always see him, sort of adapt that boxing heavy style, right? So yeah, look, so with all that in mind, it is a lot more intriguing in that sense and a lot more competitive. But also, you've got to remember who he is fighting as well. This is Tyson Fury, right? Like he fought, Wilder 3 times, and we know what happened there. 3 or 4, yeah, 3 times, right?
Yeah,
And he's defended his belt multiple times. He's sort of considered as one of the best heavyweight boxers, if not one of the best boxers on planet Earth right now. So that definitely factors in, right? Now we're sitting here, we don't know the nuances of the agreement as well. Like even if you look at the press conference and the face-offs, etc., it does it's not have that tension. I know there's I saw this face to face. This is something I love about boxing is that face to face. I feel like like MMA should adapt that. The UFC should try to do that for some of these big fights. For example, say we were going to go through with the um, John Jones versus Stipe fight. I think that's a fight that warrants a sit down face off. They did one of those, and I was seeing how Tyson Fury was explaining how he's going to knock out Francis Ngannou, but in all that, there is that sort of respect. I guess they definitely show respect, but it just you get the sense that they're just being nice and cordial to each other. I don't get that tension that you usually get in a fight when Fury and Wilder were fighting. You definitely could feel that tension. You could feel that
yeah,
there is
yeah,
serious intent to want to come out as a victor. So I feel like I could be wrong, but I just couldn't feel that, right? Even that face off
yeah,
today, you know,
yeah,
um, it was just a little bit too more on the cordial side than a sort of a combat face off. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, they're showing respect and all that, and I hope you can see what I'm trying to get at. But the other part of that is also I didn't realize how big Francis Ngannou is, because I naturally thought Tyson Fury was a much bigger heavyweight. He's always towering over his opponents. But if you look at that, especially when Francis takes his shirt off and then they face off, it's pretty big. And man, I've got to say, Francis Ngannou is a unit. He is no joke, man.
yeah. He's absolutely jacked, and yeah, just give him opportunity to muscle up, and maybe a bit more because he doesn't, need to move about the octagon. But yeah, we talked about the opportunity for both fighters. Obviously, Fury's got more to lose. Do you agree with that? Is
Yeah,
there a
look, I mean,
rematch? Is there a rematch clause as well?
I mean, is it even worth entertaining a rematch if Tyson Fury were to lose? Because the way, especially how Tyson Fury is building this fight up, is that he's saying, this is an easy fight. It's just a tune-up. I've got Usyk ready to go in December. I'm just taking this tune-up and then going to go. So the way he's building it up is that it's a walk in the park. So if he were to lose, I mean, depends on the manner in which as well, right? Like, it's not as unlikely as it seems. Like if Francis Ngannou were to go in and outbox him entirely across the entire fight, that raises some serious questions. Like I think that takes that Tyson Fury, Tyson Fury's brand takes a huge hit if that were to happen. A loss, nonetheless, still damages his branding. Its stock takes a huge hit because this is a guy who's coming in from MMA, and we haven't seen that happen so very often. We saw Anderson Silva being able to do it once, go up against a boxer and beat him, an established boxer. And like, obviously, Francis Ngannou is able to come in and knock him out, which he's known to do. But it skyrockets Francis Ngannou's brand. It diminishes to some extent Fury's brand, and the rematch could happen, and that could bring about that seriousness in terms of getting that win back. But again, it's all dependent on sort of how the fight plays out.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Oh,
it's all about. Yeah, go ahead.
now I was going to say on paper, right? On paper, this has to be where Tyson Fury walks in, does his thing, is quite nimble on his feet, outboxes him, works him, body, head, and wins the fight. That's sort of what it is. I just can't see. I mean, we've seen Francis Ngannou in fights tire out, right? Now, but this is we're talking about 5 round fights across in MMA, right? You think about it. There's a wrestling involved everything. Usually, we see either a Francis Ngannou fight in really quickly, right, in the first, second round, or it goes the distance, and then we do. He did beat Cyril Gane. There is no question about that. However, there was also no secret that he was getting tired, and then he switched on to wrestling, and he decided to rely on wrestling, which he can't here, right? And we see more and more MMA guys trying to pull off some grappling moves in the boxing ring, and I think Tyson Fury is going to stop to it, saying, "Hey, that would happen. I'll be DQ'd straight away," and the fight will end. So I don't think we're going to see any of that. I do think Francis Ngannou is taking this very seriously because for him, stepping into boxing has been a lifelong dream. I don't think he's going to let anything else distract him. And I do believe he's been training uh, diligently for this. And I do believe that, with under the guidance of Mike Tyson, one of the best heavyweights, right? These things have to add some value to it. I still do believe, with all that said, going against Tyson Fury is a tall task, especially if you've never had a boxing bout before, a professional boxing bout, and you go in and you're the first person you're fighting is Tyson Fury. That's just we've seen how he can move for a heavyweight, right? That big, and his skills are unparalleled, and that's definitely going to play a factor.
Yeah, absolutely it will. I think yeah, he might gas a little bit more later, but yeah, he might have to try to end the fight sooner, DJ, with his
Yeah,
power. Fury, I think, is going to be the more calmer boxer, of course, with the experience in the ring. I think he's going to
yeah.
fight at a really good distance. I could see, like you said, it's interesting the point about the agreement. We don't know if Fury's going to come in and, try to win emphatically. Try to, uh, coach him along. We don't really know. We'll see how that plays out. But I could
Yeah,
see Ngannou try to clinch. If he's,
yeah.
tiring later. In the later rounds. But yeah, we'll see. Like I said, he could come out guns a blazing and really, really put Fury under, the kind of pressure he hasn't, been under. That's best case scenario, I feel, for Ngannou. What's a best case scenario that you see for Ngannou? And then I think you basically summed up the worst case.
Man, best case scenario for Francis Ngannou is he comes out and knocks him out in the first round. That's what it is, right? Like, I mean, he's got. Hey, we're not talking about some amateur fighter. While he may not be experienced in boxing, right, or in pro boxing fights, he doesn't have a decorated record. He was, right, and arguably is the world heavyweight champion of the UFC. And if you look at the lead up to that fight, it wasn't like he was given a title shot straight away. He fought some of the best fighters in that organization to get to that title shot, right? And then he beat the guy who beat him to gain that title, to get that heavyweight title, and then defended it against, one of an up and coming contender who was terrorizing through that division. So his accolades are there for the world to see. For those who understand combat, no, like yes, while he may not be a
Yeah,
boxer,
no doubt.
he knows how to fight. He's been in those situations, been in situations where he had to dig deep. Yeah, he's been in situations where he had to just go in and implement his game plan, strategize, think on the fly, all these things. It is a champion versus champion fight. Make no mistake about it across two organizations. If if you really even go to this is probably on the same wane as Mayweather McGregor. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, I
and
think.
and, and you can
Yeah,
even
I think.
argue this is a sorry, CD. I was going to say, you can even say this is even slightly better, given that Fury is still fighting, he's still
Mm,
the active heavyweight champion, whereas when McGregor fought, Mayweather Mayweather had retired. Right? It came back as that was an exhibition bout. Whereas in this, I mean, it is being told that it is being the fights held under the British governing body, and Fury is saying this does go on their records. Uh, there's no official statement that that is the case.
Yeah, I think the biggest wild card DJ for me is Tyson, Mike Tyson. Get the Tysons scrambled at the minute with the Tysons all over the place. But yeah, Mike Tyson, the guy who's been there and done that, to be able to coach a scary fighter like Ngannou
Yeah,
we could see lightning in a bottle. I'm not going to
yeah,
say it's likely. I still think. I mean, you look at the image we've got on screen right now. I mean, Tyson Fury still is the biggest
yeah. He
guy
is so
right
big.
now in
Yes,
terms of height,
yeah, yeah,
agility with speed. All that. That's what makes him so special. Tyson
exactly.
Fury will go down as probably the best heavyweight fighter of this entire era
Yeah,
because he's a fighter that can has the power to knock you out, but he can
yeah,
string together great combinations, and
yeah,
he's incredibly agile for
yeah,
such a big man. So yeah, it's
yeah,
going to be a real tall task. I'm going to give Ngannou maybe with respect to his MMA resume and
yeah,
knowing how scary he is. Yeah, I'm going to say he's got a 25% chance
yeah,
to win this one, which isn't a long shot. It's
yeah.
not likely, but yeah,
Yeah.
what percentage would you give?
I would sort of hang around the same mark, CT, if not like even drop it a little bit. As you said, with all due respect to sort of his resume and everything, we also got to remember who Tyson Fury is. We got to give him his flowers. I mean, we spoke extensively about Ngannou because we're MMA fans, but yeah, we're also combat sports fans, and we understand. We've followed boxing, we've seen what Tyson Fury's done. To take a hiatus, go through those personal battles that he did go through, and then come back and step straight in and fight someone like Deontay Wilder, right, and go 12 rounds against him, to be knocked out almost cold, right, and then get up on that whatever controversy there is surrounding that count, right, to get up from that and then keep fighting and arguably win that round, it sort of speaks volumes to the mental fortitude of who Tyson Fury is. And then you add the skills to it. There are you can see clips of him, sort of his movement. Someone that big, and as you can see, while Ngannou is big, right? You can see how Tyson Fury is, even more like it's towering, right? He's quite big, but he moves quite nimbly as well. You saw in the Schwartz fight how he could his head movement. Even in the Klitschko fight, see sort of his movement and how he controls the ring. So yeah, man, like it's Tyson Fury's fight. If you really,
Yeah,
it's because Francis Ngannou is stepping into Tyson Fury's world, right? And Tyson Fury is going to dictate the pace and which happens. What will be something new for Tyson Fury is that he has not fought someone like Francis Ngannou, who's coming from a MMA background. Um, I know he's done training and sparring, etc., with these fighters, but a proper fight. One thing that stood out with the McGregor Mayweather fight was some of the angles that McGregor could generate with sort of his stance and um, his skills that were acquired from MMA. And I do believe that might play a part here too. Right, I think things to watch out for Francis Ngannou is his gas tank. Like, I mean, we're going to hope he's very well conditioned, and then sort of keeping it simple, remembering to sort of be very defensive where possible as well, not just offense. Because Tyson Fury is too good; he's going to catch him. He's going to set a trap, and he's going to catch him. And then for Tyson Fury, it's just pretty simple: just do what he does best.
yeah, he does do what he does best, and he might be actually one of his downfalls could be looking ahead to the big Usyk fight, which we're waiting on a date before we wrap this episode up. Obviously, we don't know what's next for Ngannou. If he wins, man, the world's his oyster. But
Absolutely.
if Fury, as we expect, goes on to win, he's obviously got the big unified
Mm.
heavyweight fight with Usyk, which is something we've been craving to see, and all boxing fans have. We're finally going to get that. Do you have any
Yeah.
words on that before we yeah, conclude
Yeah,
this.
man, all year we've been harping on about Fury Usyk. So I mean, if it happens this year, Fury saying December, it's great. It was interesting that they decided to announce it while this fight hadn't even taken place. I mean, like think of the timeline. This is the end of October, and then he's pretty much saying he's going to go and fight. Arguably another great heavyweight. You know, some argue that he's the best, holding multiple belts, doing what he did to Anthony Joshua, all these kind of things. To do that under 2 months, the only way that's possible is which both scenarios are possible. One is Tyson Fury is that good, right, that he doesn't need like an extended training camp. He's just like walks in and does what he does, which is completely possible. The other one is that he's already training for Usyk, right? And then this is just on the way to that. Tyson Fury feels that Ngannou is not that much of a threat for him to specifically prepare for Ngannou. I think this minded things, I avoid these bombs that come my way. And if I do what I do, I'm fine. I get through unscathed. So this because then everything else stays the same, right? The conditioning and everything stays the same. And then he goes, goes on to fight Usyk. This also is what sort of made me question about the contractual agreements and what's been there. Like, I mean, to confidently announce such a big fight before this fight's taken place, is there anything in the contract that stipulates that there won't be too much damage inflicted? Right. So that's another bit. Well, I mean, look, this is boxing. I mean, what if a heavy body shot to your floating ribs, sort of, you get a severe rib injury or a
Yeah,
break, and you need like
definitely.
several months to
Yeah,
recover, right? So it's interesting to note all these things. But man, look, at the end of the day, we're just fans, right? They're the professionals, and they do what they do, and we do what we do, which is watch, enjoy the fans, and obviously respect the commitment and hard work they put in to entertain us. I do want to mention as well, like I mean, Tyson Fury has never been someone who is known for his six pack physique, or even in the face offs today was making fun of it, saying, "Oh, look at him." And he's like, "Chisel, look at me." But I do want to mention, though, he does seem fit for what we've seen. I mean, in the past few months, having seen Tyson Fury sort of holidaying and being out in the open, most of the time he's walking around without his shirt. Uh, there is a difference. We really notice like he does seem a lot more fitter in terms of that. So I think he has definitely been taking this training seriously. So at least the conditioning part. So yeah, man, we're two more sleeps, right? All questions will be answered. Two more sleeps, and then we find out who's the baddest man on the planet. And man, we've got to say, the journey Francis Ngannou had to take to get here, sort of kudos, man, to show that you stand up for what you want and you believe in yourself and you back yourself. You come out victorious. I mean, he's already won in his own words. Right, he's already won. He's secured this big fight. The whole world's going to know who he is, if not already. He's going to get a big payday. He's set for life. His family's set for life. He's etched his name in the history books. He is the heavyweight champion of the world in the UFC. No one can change that. Whether he wins or whatever the outcome of this Sunday is. I mean, the win obviously makes it hit out of the park, but whatever the outcome, it says, look, you stepped into the cage with the best fighter or the best heavyweight boxer of that era. And that can never be taken away from him. So yeah, man, it's a huge win for Francis Ngannou, and I think it inspires a lot of people around.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. Well, yeah, it's been great breaking this down, and we look forward to recapping it. Appreciate everyone for watching, and stay tuned for our reaction to this huge fight. And then, of course, we'll continue our coverage of the boxing world, UFC, MMA. Give us a like and a subscribe, and we'll see you on the next episode. Peace.